Hello and welcome. Happy Friday. I hope everybody has had an absolutely fantastic week this week and that you've been making some great stories. I know the stories can get a little bit crazy sometimes, can't they? But that is what we experience. And, you know, the awareness of these stories, the ability to seize control of our stories is really a superpower. If you can grasp and understand your story where you are now, and you can understand the structure of it, the things that make it what it is, including the passions you have, the core of who you are. If you can understand those things and take inventory of them, then you have this opportunity to be intentional with your story moving forward. And it is the same with a company, right? If we are running a company, we can do the same thing to our company. If we are leading a division in a company, we can do the same thing. So the effort you put in to understanding your story has got a lot of payoff. And today we're going to be having a bit of fun. We're going to be going back to basics on some storytelling stuff and going to give you some ideas to do exactly that. And it's going to be practical. We're going to pick a random website today and we're going to pick on it, and we are going to have a look at the story of that website. So that's something fun that we're going to do. And then I'm going to tee this up for you so that you have the opportunity after you've watched this to then go and practice. Because if we practice stuff, we remember it. If we don't, then it just becomes this nice thing that we learned about once upon a time, right? And the opportunities that we have to use our stories are literally every single day. You might think of the power of storytelling business as standing up on stage or doing a big internal presentation to your team, maybe your whole organization. These are the moments that jump out at us as being moments of storytelling. But the moments of storytelling can be as simple as a lunch with somebody that's in a different team, that opportunity we have to influence them. We do some work with larger companies, and I was recounting to a client at a larger company recently what it was like for me when I was in the corporate world, and when I wanted to influence another team, I would not just do the big presentations. I'd have lunch with the folks on the team. In fact, in some cases, ended up becoming really great friends with people. So these moments, whether they're big moments or whether they're small moments, are all opportunities for you to use this power that you have. So without further ado, let's start to kind of break it apart, because we had a bit of fun with the little promotional graphic for this stream, and it was all those words, all the things, right? All the things you might think you have to learn about with storytelling. And I remember what that was like. I remember when I was in your shoes and I sat down for the first time to officially be a professional storyteller. I've been tapped by a leader of an organization to go and be the chief storyteller for that organization when I was back at Microsoft. And I'm an author. I write every single day, and I have done for my whole life. And I've written science fiction novels, and I've blogged, and I love telling stories. And the opportunity to get paid to tell stories when I'd spent all this time in marketing and technology was a really exciting moment for me. When I sat down to actually try and do it, I panicked. And the reason why I panicked is when I sat down, I started to look for frameworks, because that's what we do, right? What's the Microsoft Excel template that somebody's made? What's the PowerPoint presentation? What's the Canva template that we're going to start with, right? When we're learning about AI graphics, what are the workflows? How do we do? What are the recipes, right? We do that because somebody's bound to have done it before, and why try and reinvent the wheel? So we look for approaches and templates. And when I did that for storytelling in business, I couldn't find anything that was a really good fit. I was like, damn, what am I? I'm finding Hollywood, I'm finding hero's journey, I'm finding personal story stuff, but I wasn't finding business storytelling frameworks that I could apply every single day to help accelerate what we were doing. So I had a bit of a panic, and I'm here today to share with you why I don't want you to panic. You don't have to. We've got some fantastic stuff for you today that's going to help you do exactly what I was trying to do way back then. And that was 2012. So that was 12 years ago. Oh my goodness. That was 12 years ago. And I eventually left that corporate job and eventually set up Go Narrative because I want to help you. I want to remove the panic. I want to make this, I want to make it accessible for you. And B, I want to help you tell clear, simple stories. But simple doesn't mean easy. So I get kind of torn, right? Because I want to make it easy for you. I want to get you doing it, but I also want you to be able to do it really well. And because of that, I spent a long time working on frameworks and ideas to help with that. And I think I figured it out, right? So you be the judge of that. I use this every single day. And we've actually I published a book about it, the Storytelling for Action playbook, which is a playbook. It's a practical book. And it has the frameworks in it, and it starts with the simple ones and builds from there. So my hope is that you're going to be able to take that and go and apply it, because you're busy, right? You've probably learned, I don't know, half a dozen topics this year. I mean, I was up late last night geeking out on Web3. Talk about an industry that needs help with storytelling. My goodness. And we've had clients in that space. And there seems to be a very technical mindset there. And there's a lot of very interesting technology there. And it's very early days, a lot of innovation going on. But if it ever expects to break into the mainstream, anyone who works in that space is going to have to be able to communicate to us who are busy, right? Our brains are bombarded with stuff. And the reason why I mentioned Web3 is because I was up learning about it last night. I've spent a lot of time with AI, for example, AI writing, AI graphics. You're doing the same. And all of these things are taking up space in your brain. And any topic that comes along, it can just be this moment of, oh my goodness, not another thing that I have to learn. And my mission is to help you avoid that and to help you feel good about that. So why is this happening? Go back to what I said about when I tried to find frameworks, right? Or a framework or anything I could use to make my job easier. I ended up having to, I talk about it, I say I ended up having to be an interpreter, right? A storytelling interpreter. And that meant learning all about storytelling in the functions of it. Even being a storyteller, even having a passion for storytelling, I had to go and look at the structures and the basics and really make sure I understood it. So that when I was advising the team and helping the team build the stories, that I had at least some tool sets, right? And what's one of the first things that I stumbled across? Hero's Journey. Drop it in the chat if you have heard about the Hero's Journey. Yes, you have. It is an absolute cornerstone of how we tend to talk about storytelling. It is an absolute nightmare if you're a business storyteller and you want something nice and simple that you can quickly latch onto and start using every day. And I know I said simple doesn't mean easy, but something simple to understand, right? Something simple. I mean, gosh, I could say, lightsaber, right? Lightsaber. If you imagine a lightsaber, imagine a katana sword, right? Very simple, very simple. But mastering that, not so simple, right? But you have to be able to start somewhere. You have to be able to start, first of all, playing with it, quite frankly. I think you should play. If you're interested in using storytelling in business, play is a great thing. And the hero's journey is not a place to go and play. One of the hero's journey models has got 17 steps and terminology like dark night of the soul. I mean, dark night of the soul. Yeah, I mean, I think we might all have experienced that it's in some way, shape, or form within our lives and our work. I know I certainly have. But coming up with a pitch for a budget if you work in a company or a corporation, or figuring out how you're going to break the news about layoffs to your organization. I mean, going through 17 steps of the hero's journey might not be the best place to start. Just say it. Well, the other thing I found, and the other thing that might cause you to panic a little bit, is Hollywood. Hollywood. Oh my goodness. Love-hate relationship, honestly. And same with the hero's journey. Being a storytelling geek, I actually do love these things. And I love the output. We all do, right? We love a good movie. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about Hollywood. Here's the thing about a movie. The reason why those things work is because they're this refined substance that is like the most extreme distilled version, like a whiskey maybe might be an analogy there, but it's like the term, we all often say it's like whatever on steroids, which is always kind of interesting, isn't it? It's like, especially as we all often say that when we're saying something's good, it was like X, Y, and Z on steroids, and it was fantastic. On the other hand, we think about steroids in quite different ways. But if you think about Hollywood, it's kind of like this, it's storytelling on steroids, right? It's the distilled, refined, it's taking the craft and focusing on it and making it really, really, really good, right? And boom, you've got 2 hours of storytelling crack. And you've also got like TV shows that just keep you coming back and wanting more and wanting more and wanting more and wanting more, right? That dopamine hit that we get from storytelling. And there's something really interesting in that. And that is the fact that we are getting our buttons pressed, right? We're getting the dopamine hit. And that is a big part of why storytelling works. But it's not the core of what this thing is that we call storytelling. The core of what this thing is we call storytelling is actually how our brains work. And what Hollywood, what any human being that's written a novel has done, has crafted something, a communication that presses those buttons and gives us a great experience. Now, I'm not telling you should go and make Hollywood movies for every single story you should tell. In fact, I'm saying don't do that. And looking at Hollywood, like I said, could cause you to panic. But do take away the fact that the way you feel when you see a really good movie, there's a reason for that. And you can actually press those buttons in the hearts and minds of your audience. And when I say audience, don't think of something fancy. Just think of the person you're talking to, right? The lunch that you're having with that person who's responsible for the company website, with the leader that you have been seeking to get some time with and find yourself having to have the opportunity to have a chat with them at a company event, right? if you spend a bit of time working on the stories, you can press those buttons. But don't go and try and use Hollywood, please. So we've got Hollywood, you've got the hero's journey, big complex things that you could just leave us freaking out. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got stuff like just use beginning, middle, and end, Matthew. That's what you need to do when you're telling a story. Okay. Beginning. Where do I start? Who do I start with? Is this about me? Is it about our customer, the person I'm talking to? Middle. What happens in the middle? Is it an action? How does that connect to the beginning? Like where does the beginning stop and the middle? Where does the beginning end and the middle begin? And what do we need to achieve in the middle? And then when we get to the end, is that call to action? Do we have to wrap it up? What do we do? Like, and how long are these different bits? And right? It's the abstract. Simple can be abstract, and abstract can be hard. I'm neurodivergent, very proud, ADHD and dyslexic. When I'm faced with stuff like this, my brain just goes into hyper spinning out, trying to figure it all out, bouncing. Like I've got the beginning, the middle, and the end, trying to figure them all out at the same time, bouncing into each other. Talk about analysis paralysis, right? And then there's another very simple one which can cause some challenges, same types of challenges when you try and use it. And that is, I love this framework, by the way, the and, but, therefore one. And the reason why we're seeing the eponymous Eric Cartman here is because this was coined by Trey Parker and Matt Stone of South Park fame. And we're big fans of South Park in our house. We love South Park. And we love the way it challenges conceptions and preconceptions. And they develop this framework and they use it in every scene. And you can watch South Park and you can keep an ear out for it. And it works. And once you start to learn how to use it, it's a great tool. But if somebody says, use this, you do this, and all your storytelling is just going to be super, super easy, super clear, super simple. The same thing's going to happen. How do I do it? What do I do? Right. And so we have to try and find this balance between the super complicated and the super simple. But again, you don't have to panic because I have the answer for you today. Because I've been in your shoes and I've figured it out. And as you go deeper into this stuff, if you're a story geek like me, of course you're going to learn about these things. I'm not saying don't learn about these things. And if you're not a story geek and you're looking to use storytelling as a tool, over time, you might get deeper and you might start to learn these things and apply these things. And that's also okay. But for the time being, I want to take you back to 1941. That's right. 1941. Why are we going back to 1941? Well, I'll tell you, and I am playing around a little bit with the videos here. So let's do this one. There we go. That's where this case's journey started, 1941. It's kind of halfway between a modern, like a briefcase and a suitcase size. It's a suitcase. And it's a family heirloom. It's actually my wife's grandfather's. And his... get the pics back up again. And it was a wedding gift from my wife's great grandmother. And the gift was given in 1941. That's when they got married. And at that time, there was something going on in the world, right? And I get chills when I think about what's been in that case. Like, I'm not kidding. It's like super cool. Because at the time, right, there was this little thing going on called World War II, right? And my wife's side of the family are Mexican. So the gift was given in Mexico City. And I asked my father-in-law about its history and its journeys. And it turns out that it spent a lot of time going down to Campeche in Mexico because my wife's grandfather was legal counsel to the ambassador of Mexico to the US. Now, at this time, Mexico was neutral in World War II. And obviously, the US got pulled in at a certain point fully, but the US was more involved than Mexico at this point. And then later that year, 1941, December of that year, as we all know, Pearl Harbor happened. And at that point, not only did the US get pulled in, but Mexico also decided that it was going to take sides. And so this suitcase had to go between Mexico City and the US, and also Mexico City and Campeche, because there's a lot of natural resources down in Campeche. Oil, copper, timber. And because he was legal counsel to the ambassador to the US, and I think even the part of that then extended out to the allies, the US being one of the allies, right? And Mexico there was agreements for Mexico as far as the war was concerned. Everything from the Aztec Eagles who flew in the Pacific theater to the oil that could be used for D-Day. And so in that case, right, we had documents for all of these agreements. And I just find that that I'm getting chills now just thinking about that Enrique was doing this. Enrique II was responsible for this. And if we think about what I just covered there, right? Why do I get chills? Because I'm thinking about the story, right? I'm not thinking about the documents. Right? If I'd started off by saying, let me show you a lawyer's briefcase and tell you about all the legal documents that have been in this case, honestly, I wouldn't blame you for falling asleep, disconnecting from the stream, or whatever, right? But you learned about these legal documents because they were delivered in a story, right? And I know that as you're trying to apply business storytelling to business and you have that panic setting, that knowing how to avoid it is key, and knowing how to deliver complex information in a simple way is vital. So don't panic. We have the solution that I used to create that story, that I used to create this presentation, that I use every day. And one of the key parts of what I want you to realize right now is we have that complexity on the one side, right? Hollywood, hero's journey. We've got the simplicity, the oversimplicity, the abstract simplicity, dare I say, on the right-hand side. And what we're looking for the middle, right? We're looking for something that's just right. The middle might be the wrong word, but we're looking for something just right for you, for business storytelling, right? And the thing about business storytelling is it's really about storytelling that gets somebody to do something with you, to do something for you, to buy from you, to partner with you, to support you, to help you, to fight for you, right? And that's different to a lot of types of storytelling. And so getting that just right is what I want to do for you. Now, I also want to make sure that you've got we talked about maybe going a little bit deeper. So I want to make sure you got the breadcrumbs to do that. I want to give you that opportunity for those breadcrumbs, for those stepping stones, so that whether you're coming up with a simple story, like my Enrique's suitcase story was an example, or you're coming up with a story that defines your strategy for moving into a new market, that you've got the tools to do that. That, by the way, is one of the things I love about storytelling. And the more I studied it and became I don't like to say became an expert, but learned a lot about it, right? And that's ultimately what happens, right? When you study a subject, you do become a specialist in it. And as I did that, I realized that we are a world of stories, right? We're either making a story, like right now. What are you doing right now, today? What's happening in your life right now? You're making a story, whether it's at your desk, figuring something out, trying to figure this storytelling thing out, or it's what you're going to do when you leave. You are making a story, and everybody else is. So we're either making a story or we're telling a story, right? Now, I actually want to kind of parse out the making. I want to talk about that a bit differently for a second. I want to say you're living a story and making that as we go, making it up as we go along every day. We do that a lot. That's fine. Not knocking that at all. However, we can intentionally make it before. And if we do that, we can make it, we can live it, we can tell it. And when we're doing that, when we're making it, we can actually use it for strategy. We can use it for thinking. We can use it as a tool. The characters are our customers and our competition and other players in the market, right? And our objectives are the things we want to achieve. And the competition and the challenges we have are the difficulties that are all standing in our way. And ultimately, we then have to figure out how to go through that, right? So we can use this thing called storytelling as a strategic tool. We could say it's, instead of storytelling, story strategy, right? Or strategy story. Strategy and story is so interlinked that I've got to bring back. I used to have a picture of Ben Horowitz and his quote that in the best companies, the story is the strategy. I think that's what it is. Probably butchered it, but you get the point. Okay. So if we're going to figure this out, if I'm going to give you something today, what is that? It is the don't panic, because start with focusing on what your audience wants or your character within the story, because it could be you, it could be your company, it could be your customer, depending on the story that you're crafting. But don't skip this step. You know that I believe that storytelling is the most important thing in the room. But within storytelling, the most important thing is the entity that it's happening to, right? The character. Because without that, it's just a description, right? With it, it's the living, breathing, beating heart of the story. What do you want? What's happening in your life right now that you want? Is anything standing in the way of that, right? What are those things standing in the way? Because that's the next bit. Hands up, who wants something, right? Yes. Keep your hand up if everything you always wanted, you always got. That's right. Sometimes we want something and it's pretty easy. A lot of the times, not so much, right? That's the things that stand in our way that we have to navigate. We have to figure out a way around. And if you think about this from your customer's perspective, right? What they want isn't your product. Nobody wakes up in the morning thinking, I gotta buy me some whatever, right? What they want is to solve a problem or to achieve something, to get somewhere, to change their life in some way. And then the difficulty, the thing that stands in the way, could be getting going with that journey. It could be the problems along the way, right? It could be what we sometimes hear as a villain, right? It could be any of those things. But if you spend the time to figure out what all of this is, not only are you going to be able to tell better story about it, you're going to be able to understand your audience better. You're going to be able to have more empathy. You're going to be able to listen better. You're going to be able to connect better. And when you do that, you can help them find their way through to the other side, to whatever it is they're looking for. Now, sometimes what they get to might be a different end state to what they thought they wanted, but it might end up being what they need. There's a song about that, isn't there? The point being is you help them find their way forward. You help them find their way through the change that's in their life and in their world. And when you can focus on these things, understand what they want, understand what stands in the way, understand how you help them through that, and also what else they're using to help them through that. When you do these three things, then no matter the chaos that is surrounding them, right, you can help them by clarifying, by simplifying, and helping them see that way forward. And when you do that, it doesn't matter how much chaos you're surrounded by. You can get that agreement. You can drive that action. You can get them to take action. Okay. So, I'm going to have a bit of fun. I'm going to pick on random company. And if you have a company that you would like me to pick on, let me know and we can figure that out. So where is my tab for my website? Okay. Here it is. HashiCorp, our friends at HashiCorp. Now, when we look at a website, when we go to a website, we need to bear in mind that this is our window to our world, right? To our company. And on the web 2, you might realize why I said that because of my comments about Web 3 earlier. But where we are in the world today, this is a really big, important part of the puzzle, right? Because when people are starting to explore what their options are to navigate the challenges that they have, they'll end up on our website, right? If they are doing the research to buy a product, they'll end up on our website. If they are searching for ways to solve problems, not even looking for us, not even aware of us, not even aware of our category, they might end up on our website. So it's a big part of the picture, obviously. And I am constantly amazed at how absolutely terrible everybody seems to be at websites. There we go. I said it. There are so few people ask me, what's a company that's a good story on their website? And I'm like, yeah, we do. I mean, the cobbler's children have no shoes. By all means, if you want to pick holes in the Go Narrative website, I'm always all ears because life's the day I stop learning is the day I die. But that being said, we obviously work hard to keep it focused on your story, who we're talking to, you as a forward-thinking leader that we want to connect with, right? So we look at this website. Where do we see the customer? Do you see the customer anywhere on this website? Do you see what the customer wants anywhere on this website? Let's have a look, shall we? So at the top, we've got the menus. Okay, so we get a sense that there's might be a developer play here, obviously. Not seeing any beyond that. Not seeing kind of any target audience kind of triggers. And got this one, cloud assessment. How mature is your cloud program? Take this quiz to find out, to get to the next level. How mature is your cloud program? So we're obviously making some assumptions that people are going to be coming here who care about that, who are looking for that. Still not seeing anything. I mean, I say care. mature. I mean, we could, in theory, say that there's some desire behind that. Like, I'm worried about the maturity of my cloud program, but I'm not seeing it clearly, right? Do cloud right. They're telling me what to do. I get where this is coming from. Like, I want to do cloud right? It's not really how it's coming across as I read it. Take a unified approach to infrastructure and security lifecycle management. Same thing, right? Do it this way. Take this approach. Do this thing. I mean, we're in product management language territory here, not even in product marketing. Meet the infrastructure cloud, contact sales. Okay, so I'm sold. I want to speak to sales. So what happens if we open one of our friends here and we load up that website? So I happened to do this earlier. And okay, I want to know who their audience is, right? So I can scroll down the page here. So why haven't I gone down the page yet? Because if you don't get me here, I ain't going to go down the rest of the page, right? If I am into the sales process, if I am really shopping for whatever it is you're selling, yeah, I might scroll down. Okay. And arguably at each step, you need to be talking to somebody, talking to what they need and they want. So we can have a look here. We can see if they actually get down to that level of detail, if they have buried the lead anywhere. So I should say something here, smarter approach. So I'm dumb, am I? Move faster, so I'm slow. Again, right, yeah, you do research. HashiCorp have done research, I'm sure, where they've discovered that speed to implementation is probably a pain point, right? So why aren't you talking about that? We know how painful it is to want to get there, right? To want to deploy your cloud, to want to move your cloud, whatever it happens to be. I'm a human being, okay? So AI hasn't completely taken over yet. Down here, deliver mission critical functionality, okay? We have a client quote here. Terraform has helped us create a self-service business model for our development teams. Achievement. It would be really nice to know how he feels about that. Do I want to do this? Do I want to create a self-service model? Let's say I do. Great, somebody's done it with HashiCorp. Cool. Now, if we'd asked Scott how he felt about that, maybe it would say something like, it was a breath of fresh air when Terraform helped us finally figure out how to create a self-service business model for our development teams. By the way, even though I did drop that in earlier, I'm trying not to do too much prep of these website teardowns because I want to show you how even the beginning of the storytelling, applying storytelling, can yield big results. Okay. Empowering developers. Oh my God, this word, seriously, God love this word. Giving power to people. The tech industry needs to not use this word anymore. Please just don't use it. Don't find a different word. See if you can. Okay, so who's their audience? Looks like it might be enterprise orgs and decision makers, targeting large orgs, focus on enterprise. Okay. So enterprise, what kind of challenges does somebody who's in an enterprise environment have? Decision-making isn't so straightforward, is it? Lots of people involved. nowadays, reputation. Okay, DevOps, emphasis on infrastructure, targeting technical practitioners, developers, enterprise, infrastructure automation, cloud architecture teams, focus on cloud infrastructure. Okay. So let's do something else. It's another one of our AI friends created this to help speed up this process because it is something that I do all the time. And so I've taken some of my steps and put them into some of our AI friends. And I'm going to load up the PDF, the web page. And in fact, actually, you know what? Fell into this trap when I did this with one earlier. Specify the topic. Okay. I'm reviewing a client website. HashiCorp are not a client, just to be clear. As far as our AI friend is concerned, it is. To help them up their storytelling game, especially above the fold on the landing page. I want their prospective clients to feel compelled to take action, not just to reach out to sales, but to dig deeper into the solutions, reach out with questions, connect on social media, watch our content on YouTube, etc., etc. Yes, I'm not trying to spell. Okay. Here is some insight on their target audience. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just copy this over. Okay. And attached, I have included one of the things, by the way, that is always, it cracks me up when I have this conversation with folks, is you don't have to worry about your spelling with AI. I mean, literally, you can tell it to fix your spelling. So it knows what you're trying to do. It knows I'm trying to say have there, even though my fingers were moving a little bit out of sync, apparently. Attached, I've included a PDF printout of their web page. Okay, let me see. What else do I want to say? Let's focus on the 3D power of 3D story to structure our ideas. I would like 3 options for the top of the website to replace what there is today. Okay. Okay. Now I will attach it. Let's see what it comes up with. Now, what it's doing in the background is this is a custom GPT. And like I said, I use this to help speed things along. So I've programmed it with our approach, insights, and processes to help speed it along. And it's great. Using these tools to do this is great. And this can help speed you along. We'll see here that it looks like we're going to, we'll probably want to tune some stuff, but based on the legwork that I've already put in, the team's already put in on this, and the years of working on this, should get us somewhere interesting. So let's have a look. The Innovators Toolkit. Okay, so we'll look at a high level first, going to scan down them. Multi-cloud harmony, the DevOps power play. Okay, so remember what we have currently on the site. Do cloud write, right? Now, let's have a look at destination, drivers, call to actions, visual hook. It's making some suggestions here that could be useful. This isn't exactly what I want it to do. What I want it to do is I want it to, we'll skip the cloud assessment, but I want to replace these things, okay? And I also want to make the most of the space that we have. Even if this was on a small screen, we'd still have a bit of real estate down here. So I'm going to say, great. I like the focus on the audience, such as, in particular, it was the DevOps Power Play, because it really speaks to the audience in a language they might like. Okay. But I want to focus on the 3 parts of text pieces, I guess. At the top, ignore the assessment. Look at this screenshot. I also want to utilize the space below this because it is a valuable real estate. Okay. So what I'm expecting it to do now is to take that feedback, dial up the sort of emotional aspect. Let's see what it can do before I kind of lean into it too hard. And I want to make sure that I share some fun stuff with you about what's on the back end of this. It's helping with this, and we'll make sure that we've got time for that. Okay, so let's have a look. So as we see, we've got this do cloud write, take a unified approach, and then meet the infrastructure cloud. So those are the kind of three portions that I want. Thank you. I see the current structure is this. Okay, yes. Based on that and your preference for a more compelling narrative, here's some alternatives. DevOps Power Play, multi-cloud simplified, from code to cloud seamlessly. This is not speaking to, these headlines are not speaking to the audience. The problem with is it doesn't speak to the audience wants, needs, desires. Option 2 is no better. You're also getting a bit of insight into the approach I take on these things because it's very iterative. Sometimes if I'm frustrated by what I'm seeing, I might not even read any further, but I'm going to do that right now. So let's have a look. Let's see if there is any of that stuff. So headline, empower your cloud, unleash innovation, streamline operations and secure infrastructure. Okay, no. It's using the word empowered. Do not use the word empowered, etc. Okay, second one. Master multi-cloud complexity from infrastructure management. Honestly, I'm really disappointed. Okay, so I'm going to open another one here, and I'm going to do this. For research for me, the primary desires, drivers, and challenges of the below audience targets. Create a simple report which includes, let's see, the main objectives, responsibilities and challenges. 2, the emotions that are involved in these. 3, what a positive end state looks like. Okay. We set primary desires, drivers, challenges for the targets, create a simple report which includes main objectives, responsibilities, and challenges. One of the things, by the way, some folks will do, and if you use some of these models, it's quite good to do, is you might say, imagine you're a researcher who has been hired to, and you can do that. I generally don't do that. I generally just like tell it what I want it to do. That's actually given me an idea here. In fact, what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to keep it super simple. And I am going to show you what we can do with some of the beta AI stuff. Okay. So I'm not going to use this model. I'm going to use the preview, the O1 preview, which arguably is PhD level intelligence based on what it's been trained on. Eventually, the theory is all subjects. So we can use this one. And with this one, you actually do approach it a bit differently. Treat it like a colleague. I've been kind of doing that all along with AI, with generative AI such as this. We don't want to be too directive on this. We want to make sure we give it what we want and then let it do its thing. So let's see what it comes back with. I'm looking for, by the way, you can watch the process it goes through here, which is really cool. I'm looking for the heart and soul, right? Because even if you are pouring concrete for your job, you're doing it for a reason. And that reason might be as simple as putting food on the table. When we get to DevOps teams, there's a lot of aspiration. Like, I want to help you with storytelling. What do you want to help your customers with? What do they want to help their customers with? What kind of value do they want to bring to their organization? We start to think about the psychology of this. So let's see what it's coming up with. Primary desires, drivers, and challenges. Go. Strategic alignment, operational efficiency, risk management, technology adoption, challenges, legacy systems. Okay, so this is still very, okay, emotions, pressure and stress. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, anxiety over potential security breaches. Yes, that makes sense. Frustration with bureaucratic hurdles. Yes, that makes sense. Okay, now, in the interest of time, I'm not going to read through all this. I'm going to copy it. And we're going to go back to the other one and see what it was coming up with. So remember, I wasn't too happy with the last one, and I said that. So thanks for my feedback. You're welcome, my AI friend. Refined option 1, get cloud infrastructure right the first time. I'm still not liking what it's doing here. I hope this also shows the relationship that humans and AI need to have, at least today. Who knows where we'll be in a year's time, 5 years time. This is still feeling very 2001, how we would talk about this stuff. Option 2, simplify multi-cloud infrastructure securely. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling it. I want to see things that will drive humans to act, not the bits and bytes and bobs and things they have to do in their day job, but rather the things that motivate and move them to act. See the below and focus on, how did we have the section called out? I wanted to focus on the emotions involved. Focus on the emotions involved. The mission is to use storytelling as a tool to connect with the hearts, not just the minds, of the prospects reviewing the website. We need to respect their story, what they are living, and how the HashiCorp website is a window into a world of help. Okay? We want to help them live the best story possible. To do this, we are right now working to make that story as it relates to this site. I'm going to get to website versus everything else momentarily, because some of you might be thinking, but our brand says everything has to talk about doing cloud right. Okay, that's a separate problem, and I will talk about it in a few minutes because we're almost done with this. Okay, so let's paste that in, and boom. Fingers crossed. Matthew, you broke AI. We tried to give AI a heart, and we killed it. Okay, it's fine, I'm sure. Let's regenerate. Did he get it? The instructions? Ah. Wait. Here we go. I could have just hit this, but I didn't want to go all the way to the very bottom. Okay. Unlock what's possible. Okay, now I'm starting to feel this now. Imagine what you could achieve without the limits. Let's have a look at the others. Navigate complexity with confidence. Turn uncertainty into opportunity. Now, within 20 minutes, we've done some research, we've found some insights. I would expect you to do more than just ask ChatGPT to go and do some research for you. We do research for clients, and it can be quite an involved process, right? You have to decide what you're going to use as inputs. You have to have good inputs. What we're seeing here is based on a certain set of inputs, right? What we're seeing here, let's mix it up with the visuals here. What we're seeing here, it's over here for me. What we're seeing here, I'll make it big as well. Let's make it big. Zoom in. Boom. How about that? What we're seeing here is a rapid example of how we can iterate insights around customer needs, desires, wants, emotions, and integrate that with what we do as a company, or in this case, HashiCorp, so that we can connect with our potential prospects when they land on our website. To do that, we did some light research with ChatGPT. It might not be the right information. This might not be navigating complexity with confidence. That might not be actually what our audience needs. Do bear all this in mind. So we are operating on some assumptions here, but you can see how we can take this approach. Okay. So, and then third one, empower your best story. Oh my God, it said empower and I told it not to. Okay. We'll just try and ignore that for now. Write the next chapter in your success story. Bit on the nose based on what we're doing here, but whatever. Let's go back to the first one here, and we can see how it's breaking it down, right? HashiCorp empowers you. Seriously, I should get AI to do a video clip with every time I show frustration about the word empowers. Don't use the word empowers. If you work in technology, don't use it. Please, just don't use it. Do me a favor. Or if you want to drive Matthew crazy, use the word empowers all the time. I got shell shock. This is PTSD I have from my years at Microsoft when working in particular in the productivity organization, which is one of the big organizations I worked in. The word empowers was used all the time. Empowers and productivity were the two big words. And let's say that maybe I'm a bit shell-shocked over that. Okay. I'm going to try and put my feelings about that word aside just for the moment. HashiCorp empowers you to build, secure, and scale in ways that reduce complexity and bring confidence back to your operations. I should switch these around, shouldn't I? There's probably a little magic. There we go. That makes more sense, silly Matthew. Okay, so it then says, see what's possible, talk to our team. Okay, space below. In this space, consider adding short, impactful stories or testimonials. Before and after stories. Love it. Okay, what about this next one? With HashiCorp, manage multi-cloud infrastructure that's as adaptable as your ambitions. Tackle today's challenges and open doors to what's next. And this is because we found that this is what this market cares about. We're talking to our customer, or in this case, our prospect. Yeah? Okay. Here's some ideas about the space below. 3 emotional drivers that HashiCorp address for their users. Secure your peace of mind, bridge the complexity gap, empower your vision. And here, let's have a look at one of them. Let's pick the second one. A unified platform doesn't just simplify, it builds bridges between teams, tools, and goals, creating harmony in the chaos. This is the kind of stuff we care about as human beings, right? Even if we're pouring concrete, the types of things we care about are harmony with the people we're working with, right? If we have struggles in our small business that is in a community, we're having to build bridges with other businesses or with the community. These are the sorts of things people care about. Now, at any given time, your audience is going to care about some things more than others. Look, we all need to eat, we all need to sleep, we all love, we all get frustrated. Yes, but certain things bring with them certain types of frustrations, certain types of annoyances, certain types of aspirations and ideas of happiness. And if we can tap into those and then integrate them in the right way, we have this opportunity to connect on the story. Okay, I'm going to stop picking on HashiCorp right now, but thank you so much, HashiCorp, for allowing me to do this for you. Nobody from HashiCorp was involved in any way, shape, or form in the making of this video. Just so happens that I do happen to know some folks over there, and they're a company that popped into my head today when I was thinking about who could we tear down. And with a bit of luck, there was some useful stuff for HashiCorp in there. We can do this to any company, and HashiCorp, thank you for being good sports. And next week, we'll be tearing down somebody else. And if you have somebody you'd like to have me tear down, please do let me know. Okay. And what fun we had with AI as well, right? I love AI as a tool. I am terrified where it's going, obviously. As a tool, somebody with ADHD and dyslexia, it is an absolute godsend for accelerating my productivity. The need that I have with the way my brain works to rapidly iterate and interact with other people is partially satisfied with AI, giving me the opportunity to get that rapid feedback cycle. And so what you saw here was like the beginning of that, right? And if we were to sit down and kind of go through the 4 hours yesterday that I spent working on a client's story after their story discovery, I was writing, I was directing AI, I was iterating, I was throwing stuff away, I was coming up with new ideas, I was riffing. And as you saw today, it's also not always going to get you what you need. Like that story that I mentioned I was working on yesterday, it didn't help me zero in on the actual theme. I figured that out through my observations. And so you as a human being, for now at least, still do add value to that process. And I'm loving working with it. And I'd love to talk about it with you. If you want to chat, let me know. Okay. So great stuff, right? Most websites need a bit of work, and I think we can all safely say that. I'm constantly going back to our website and saying we can make this better. How do we make this better? How do we connect with the story? How do we make sure that we're making the right story so that we can help them live, our target audience who are forward-thinking leaders like yourself, spending the time focused today, learning how you can apply this stuff. Forward-thinking leader. You're a forward-thinking leader. And I want to help you as a forward-thinking leader connect and drive action, right? And it's really important because it's very easy to send people to sleep. And sometimes I'll go look at our website, I'm like scared, just like worried that I'll be, we might scare people off or worse yet, frustrate them. And we all need to be doing this, right? And the website is obviously that one of those prime opportunities that we have, and it has to be simple, right? People want to take that next step, needs to be simple, right? And if you can do that above the fold, if you can connect with their hearts, you can do that and you can create the kind of experience that you want to create. And remember, to do that, we start by looking at what they care about, right? What do they want? What is it about this audience that they are struggling with or need help with? What stands in their way, right? What is the way through it and how do you help? And I call this the power of 3D story, okay? And it breaks down these 3Ds that help you see your story from all perspectives. The desire of your customer, right? What is that? The difficulty that's standing in their way and how you help them. When you do all these things, whether it's your website or anything else, whatever your big idea is that you have, that you want to communicate, in HashiCorp's example, right there, it's clearly something to do with doing cloud right? This unified approach to infrastructure that they talk about, that is going to scare people off when they read about it like that, right? But the idea is a good idea, right? Take those ideas and put them through the power of 3D story. Now, we love to sit down and hash this out. Like I said, the iteration process that I love, workshopping, getting your stakeholders in a room, your engineers, your marketing team, your leadership, and going through the process of having every individual voice heard, having a prioritization of these desires, these difficulties, and the untangling of the knot, this denouement. The French word that is not simple in the 3D is denouement, which in English means the untangling of the knot. Don't be 10-year-old Matthew and try and untangle your kite by cutting it with scissors. Carefully pick it apart, right? And workshopping is a great place to do this. Inputs into the workshopping can include research. Outputs from the workshopping can be plans to do research, right? As long as you're making sure that you're listening to your customer, focusing on that heart of their challenge, what they want, whatever it happens to be, the workshopping process is a great way for us to work together to kind of move this stuff forward. Now, Perfect is the enemy of the done, right? Get it out there, right? Test it, A/B test it, do research. I know what it's like to work in a corporation and how challenging it can be to have your ideas adopted and accepted. So think about what that looks like for you. If you've got a big idea about connecting with the hearts of your customers and you're finding resistance internally, think about the internal audience. What are those meetings going to be? What are those lunch meetings going to be? What are those business reviews going to be? Who holds the decision-making power? And what do they want? Right? What are their priorities? What's standing in their way? Can you make a story to help them live that story that then brings your story along with that, the story of your customers that you figured out? And testing it, working with those stakeholders in the organization and showing them that stories can have impact is going to be a big way for you to move things forward if you work in a corporation. If you run a small business or a medium-sized business, or you're an entrepreneur and you've got the funding and you're pushing things ahead, then your testing and your approach is going to be a bit different, but you still have people to get on board, right? Your investors, for example. Every step along the way, think about the power of 3D story. And where did I put it? Here it is. Am I showing the right camera? Here we go. This, of course. This is a workbook. It has worksheets in it that you can write stuff down on. Okay? And it's got ideas. Remember what I said about getting into storytelling in business and how there wasn't the frameworks that I wanted? Another thing that can cause frustration, you might identify with this, is where are the examples? Throw me a bone. Give me an example. And it'll be a catalyst to help me unlock what's in my head, right? I don't know about you, but if I sit down with a blank worksheet in front of me and I read, here we've got, do they have a sense of purpose? My brain, I mentioned this earlier, can go into a bit of an analysis paralysis. Purpose. What does the word purpose mean? I get the dictionary out. Okay. Sense of need to do, to feel fulfilled. Right. They kind of can spin out a bit. That's why I put all the, what I call moves in, right? So you can see helping others succeed. Oh, right. Of course. Purpose, helping others succeed. Well, my purpose is to help people lead more fulfilling professional lives and run their businesses more successfully with storytelling. Actually, my purpose is helping people live better lives with storytelling, helping people with storytelling. And we live in a capitalist society, so got to do it to make some money, and I like doing it for business. Okay. But that starts to unlock those, and every step through that playbook has got those. And you can use this. You can sit down and plan it out for that MBR. You can plan it out for that executive conversation. You can plan it out for that lunch meeting. You can plan it out for the campaign that you're running. Okay. So make sure you're thinking about their heart. Make sure you're thinking about what stands in the way and how you help them through that. Remember, desire, difficulty, denouement. And when you bring all of these things together, it is that Goldilocks of the first steps into business storytelling, right? It's not too simple. Desire, difficulty, denouement, just on their own. You might think, oh, there's just three things. But we start to look at that. It's not just beginning, middle, end. It's desire of our audience, our character in the story. Difficulty that stands in their way. Denouement, how they untangle the knot. Simple, but a little bit more information than and, but, therefore. What do I do in those? Or beginning, middle, end, what do I put in each one? And not as complicated as the hero's journey. And that's because I developed this not a million miles away from how Joseph Campbell developed the hero's journey. He developed that to understand, decode, and provide a framework for stories, for tales, for books, for movies, right? A certain type of story, a certain manifestation of story. I'm doing this for you in business. And when you do it, you get actual results. This isn't qualitative stuff. Storytelling is not fluffy. Storytelling cuts like a blade, right? Storytelling drives results. And these are real results that we've seen. There's some quotes as well from clients on here, but actual increase in conversions, right? Increase in the views that then lead to those conversions. Unique page actions, right? All of the types of things that are these indicators along the way of driving action, right? Because this is all about storytelling for action. Now, you might be thinking, great, like, what next? Well, I would encourage you to go and check out our business story assessment on our website. It is about 10 minutes of your time, questions about what you're doing in your professional life, and it will give you your story type. And your story type is a very simple tool for you to use to select and tell stories that make the most sense for where you are right now in your career or in your business. So if you are the pivot, you will use the pivot as a filter or as a fishing hook to listen to stories that might be about pivot. The news. Oh, wow, that news story is about somebody pivoting. Or I watched this TV show and it was a comedy and it was funny because there was this big pivot in it. Or somebody on my team was doing this thing and they had this big change. It's a story about a pivot there, or a customer, right? You don't even need to think about storytelling. You don't even need to think about the power of 3D story that we've just been through. You just use that hook, that story type as your hook to go and tell consistent stories. Now, where can we go with that, right? Combine the two. So now you've got you're changing perceptions, right? In fact, I took this yesterday again, and right now, changing perceptions is the story type, my story type right now. And that is because I pivoted the business to move away from the messaging work we were doing, and to make sure I was focusing on what I want to focus on as the business, and that is Go Narrative, the storytelling for action, helping you create action and find that success through storytelling. And so helping the world understand that is what I'm working on doing right now. A year ago, it was the pivot, because that's what was actually happening, and that's the stories that I was telling. So hopefully, if we think about how that accrues back up to the big story here, it's about simple doesn't mean easy. But if you have the right tools, the right Goldilocks tools, you can start using storytelling as a powerful tool in your tool belt every single day. And we can help with that, obviously, right? Doing it for free for HashiCorp today with some fun with AI. And we've also spent some time with having some fun with the word empowering today, right? And looking at ways to tell stories that don't use the word empowering. Bit of fun. And we've got some ways that we can help you. We've got Storytelling Pit Crew. This is white glove, hands-on, helping you, sitting down with you and doing what we did today, but over a month, meeting every week, looking at the story that you're trying to tell and getting it dialed in, right? Boom. Story Accelerator Program. What is the story you're trying to tell for your business right now? It's a 6-week program. And then workshops and keynotes. You can have this conversation with your team and then do some workshopping, for example. I do want to tell you where it all begins, and I think you might know where that is. What's the most important part of this for you? Your story. And I want you to have the best possible story. And that is what our story discovery process is. This is a 1-hour meeting with principal consultant, yours truly, and we will write your story. So you tell it, we write it. This is you. And I kid you not, probably about a 33% hit rate on people tearing up in these, because we talk about what's important to you, and it's your story. I ask questions that help draw it out. It's your story. And once I've drawn it out, I write it for you. Okay. And give you a core story, 2-page, 1,000 words that you can use. Start at the top, all right? Easy access, more details. What that professional story that helps define your career, what does that look like? What are the stories that moved you as a child to be who you are today? What is that red thread for your whole life? Like me in storytelling. And I can do this because I spent some time locked in an attic when I was a kid. It sounds a bit dramatic, but we lived in effectively what was a building site, and it was the only safe place my parents could put me. So I had to be locked in there at nighttime, for example. And anytime that my parents needed to get me out from under their feet, my dad was out of the house working, my mum was pregnant. This was on the top floor of this house. And I started to learn to tell stories to stay out of the attic, to entertain, to move my mother and my father, when he was around, to action that resulted in me not being in the attic. And then for the first 12 years of my life, we moved every year. And I was telling stories and listening to stories all the time. And so for me, this all built up to my story being about helping you with your story. And you cut me and I bleed story. If you cut yourself, you'll bleed something else. And in this conversation, we'll draw that out. And I love these conversations, and I absolutely love writing these stories. And I love them. Most of the process is what I hear back from clients who have now crystallized. And I love what Deanna said here, because she's like, I thought I knew my story. She's a great storyteller anyway, right? She walked away upping her game when it comes to her story, and actually resulted in a career move for her. So this is where it all starts. What's next? Hopefully that gives you some ideas, and you've got some practical tools you can start using today. I love the word practice, like meditation practice or yoga practice. It's not perfect, it's practice. So what I want you to do is 3 things. Number 1, pick a topic, something important to you in your career, your business right now. Put it together as a story using the power of 3D story. And if you get this from Amazon, there's probably a button in here where I can show you the link, which would be helpful. Here you go. And I should probably put that in the chat, shouldn't I, so that you can see it. a.c/d/6KYECR9 https:// Did I get all the capitalization correct? There we go. Yep. Here's one I made earlier. Okay. And then tell the story 3 times in 72 hours. It's been proven for retention, any learning, when you tell them how you did it. So tell them about the power of 3D story. Your boss, your colleague, your child, your spouse, whoever it is you speak to in those 3 days with that story. Tell the story and then tell them how you broke it down. We're talking to DevOps folks who are feeling this way about this stuff, and this stuff standing in the way, and we help them do this, and this is the world that we help them build and get to. And what I just did was I took the audience, the character, and then the story is DevOps, and they had a desire, and then there was a difficulty that stood in their way, and then we helped them untangle the knot. This fancy French word called denouement, and that's 3Ds, DDD, the power of 3D story. You do all those things, and you have all the right bits. If you go back about 2,000 years, back to Aristotle, and he talked about ethos, logos, and ethos, logos, and eros. Heart. It's about that. You've got the heart, right? You've got that's the story. You've got the logic. That's the plot, and then you've got the character, right? There's people in the stories, and that's how Aristotle approached persuasion, right? It's the head and the heart. These things together, and that's what you get with the power of 3D story. You get the heart, you get the problem, and you get the how it's solved, right? And the reasons for that, which you as professional have been spending a lot of time figuring out. What are those reasons, right? What is the art of that reason that you can draw out? So I'm excited to hear what story you will tell, and to come back to our next stream, or to shoot us an email, or download the first chapter. By the way, I should have said this all along, is you can get the first chapter, which has got the 3Ds in it, from our website. We ask for email because we want to stay in contact, and then you can ask us questions. And we will be doing a newsletter actually this afternoon as well. So thank you so much for joining the stream today. I hope you feel empowered and ready to go and use the power of 3D story to tell some amazing stories. And I'm excited for you to find success doing that, and then to come and share that with me, because nothing makes me happier than hearing how you have used storytelling as a forward-thinking leader to change your world and to change the world of the people you care about, whether that is your customers, your employees, your partners, or your friends and family. So take care, have a great rest of your day, great weekend, and I'll see you